On this episode of the Rockumentaries Fake Bandica, our Spinal Tap days keep rambling on as we prepare for Spinal Tap II. The End Continues, out this weekend. We're looking at other fake band mockumentaries, the spawn of Spinal Tap. Many miles away, there's a shadow on the door of a dark fake band mock. This is the Rockumentaries Fake Bandica. Welcome to the Rockumentaries Fake Bandica. I'm Charles. There's Alan.
Hey there.
There's T-Mike.
Hello, Cleveland.
And we're going to talk about a lot of fake band mockumentaries that owe a thanks to the movie This is Spinal Tap. One such mockumentary we won't dive into today is the sequel, Spinal Tap II, The End Continues, since it doesn't come out until September 12th. Although some people get to see it earlier, it seems.
Yes, yeah. In IMAX even.
Ooh.
So you don't, go ahead and look ahead. Maybe it doesn't have to be the 12th. It could be like, say, some of us get to see it on the 10th.
Nice.
Okay, but before we tame these mock nest monsters, do we have any business to discuss? T-Mike and emails?
No.
Well, that's great. Okay. So
But if you want to email us, that email address, once again, fakebands@vgg.com.
Great.
That is correct.
Okay, last episode we talked about Elmo.
Yeah.
The Muppet.
I was sure Elmo the Muppet had a beef with The Rock, and he did, in fact, have a beef with The Rock. Elmo's friend Zoe has an imaginary friend, Rocco the Rock.
Okay.
It's an actual rock.
Yeah.
Well, it's not imaginary.
That's what I was thinking, but the personality was imaginary.
It
Right?
is
She's
literally
like,
a rock.
She was like, oh, Rocco doesn't want to do this, or
Oh, I
Rocco
see.
wants to
Okay.
do that kind of thing. It's an actual rock, but she gives it the personality. And
Okay.
the rock is always getting in the way of Elmo's fun, and sometimes Elmo has just had enough of this stupid rock, like when Rocco gets the last oatmeal raisin cookie.
Elmo will just take this one. No, wait, Elmo. What? Rocco says that he wants the oatmeal raisin cookie. Rocco? Rocco's a rock, Zoe. Rocco won't know the difference. Yes, he will. You can't have that cookie, Elmo. Rocco wants to eat it. How? How is Rocco going to eat that cookie, Zoe? Tell Elmo. Rocco doesn't even have a mouth. Rocco's just a rock. Rocco's not alive.
I have never heard him lose it like that before.
Wow, yeah.
He
That's the
went
best.
nuts.
That's
It's
crazy.
the best thing. He just totally loses it.
So yes, Elmo he does have a beef with a rock. Rocco the Rock.
Rocco the Rock, yes.
Okay.
All right.
Also, this last episode, we talked about Michael McKean.
Yeah.
We talked about how he was actually in a real band, the Left Bank.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I said
69.
they had hits, and you
Yeah.
guys were like, hits. He didn't have hits. And then T-Mike said something about plural hits, so we had to look it up. They had 2 top 20 hits.
Yes, I looked it up too.
Okay. So Walk Away Renee, we talked about. That made it to number 5 on Billboard.
Mhm.
Nice.
But their other hit was Pretty Ballerina, which went to 15 on the charts.
Very
And
nice. Very
I do not. I've
Never heard. I'm sure I've never heard it.
I went
Yeah.
through a whole phase when when Rhino re-released the Nuggets box set.
Oh, yeah, all
and
the
I
old
went through,
60s
yeah,
stuff, yeah.
all these 60s songs, and I was like, and I've never heard this song.
I was
Like,
tempted to go listen to it, and then I was like, I got other things to listen to right now.
No, I mean, listen, and it's fine. But what's weird is there's several YouTube videos that came up along like suggested things, and it was like, this is the most beautiful song ever, and I have never heard this song.
Never.
I've never heard of the radio. It's amazing. It was
So-
like totally new.
2 top 20 hits
Wow.
for the
Yes.
Left Bank. Okay, I also want to point out that the Runaround, so I talked about this at one point, it premieres on Prime Video. I think it came out this week. And it's a show about a high school band from Wilmington, North Carolina.
Nice.
Hey.
I watched the first part of the first episode today, and I mean, it starts off like any other like high school, like, oh, we're about to graduate movie, So I may have higher hopes for it later, but right now it seems like almost every other one of these. But I haven't gotten to the actual music yet.
Oh,
They
okay.
have
Yep,
like the graduation. They throw the hats up. The hat
They're
comes down.
getting there. There's a few days
Okay.
left, it seems, and they're
Okay.
talking about graduation and, oh, what are we going to do this summer? Well, our band has to make it big.
Oh, okay.
And their band is not currently named the Runarounds. It's named I got to say it right because the Father Muckers, I think is what their name of their band is,
Nice.
which is the name that, a high school band would call themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And, they're not going to become successful with a name like that.
No.
So that's what we've done so far. It's by the makers, the people who did the Outer Banks, that show. This show is.
Yeah.
So it's the Runarounds. It's out now.
Okay. Well, cool.
All right.
North Carolina related thing.
Yeah. So we'll probably end up talking about that pretty soon.
Oh, yeah. Do a show or something.
So let's look at other fake band mockumentaries that owe at least some debt to the boys in Spinal Tap. We've talked about some already in our podcast, right? We just had a whole episode on A Mighty Wind, the direct descendant of Spinal Tap.
And some of the members look very similar to the people
Some of them did.
Yeah.
I thought so. I thought that too.
Can we call them Spawnal Taps instead of the spawn of Spinal?
Yes,
Tap?
we
Good.
can.
All right,
Yes.
then. I'm happy.
And we spent a whole show talking about the Ruddles, right? So go find that episode to know more about those excellent Neil Innes tunes.
1978.
Yeah, so it came before.
Right. It's a direct predecessor.
But we mentioned others in part of a bigger show like Bob Roberts in our politics show from November, Platinum Weird in our episode on hoaxes from April of this year. Hardcore Logo is in our Canada show from July. That one wasn't a very funny one. It had funny moments, but it was
It was more of a drama.
Yeah.
So if you want to know more about those bands and movies, check out the past shows, right?
Also the website.
Right. So now we should start talking about the history of mockumentaries. Since most of us just think this is Spinal Tap as a starting point. Alan, I know you've done a lot of work on this.
Yeah, was looked into that because I'm curious about it because it's interesting to think about. If you think about how mockumentaries work, they're like a parody essentially.
Right.
And so like all parodies, they actually depend upon the audience knowing the original, or at least the original kind of form that is being parodied.
Right.
Because it needs to use the same storytelling logic. So for example, like Weird Al's Eat It depends upon the audience recognizing, oh yeah, this is a parody of Beat It. It's not just a weird song about eating, And like more broadly, like the song One More Minute depends upon the audience knowing
Weird Al's song.
Weird Al song, yeah. Knowing that like kind of the typical lyrical moves of like a doo-wop song and like the
1950s.
ex-lover song, very 1950s sounding, which he kind of upends.
That's right. You ain't gonna see me crying. I'm glad that you found somebody new. 'Cause I'd rather spend eternity eating shards of broken glass than spend one more minute with you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so like that only works as humor because you recognize that it's actually playing with the meaning. So
he's done a number of these what he calls style parodies, where he'll parody a genre or like a particular artist, but not any one particular song of theirs.
Yeah, and so but that only works because
you know that
the elements that he's parodying. So humor is really complex. And actually, I used to teach a class on pranking and humor, and it was a lot of not very fun reading. It always surprised me that humor journals were incredibly not funny.
It's like the frog; it dies under dissection.
Yeah. Yes. Although that is kind of funny to watch, so.
For you.
But there's a lot of playing with meaning, and in order, humor is like involves this kind of semiotic and meaning play and experimentation, and there's a lot of like you have to kind of obey the genre, but also upend the expectations for it.
Yes,
and
I agree.
all this is to say, in order for them to exist, for mockumentaries to exist, we actually had to first have documentaries because there's something to parody,
Right.
So we have to understand how they work, how like the narrators sound like a lot of times there's a very style of narration that they all kind of rely on.
So actually what you're saying, Alan, is we could make history if we could parody something that doesn't exist yet.
Well, no, then it would be the original one, and then the serious version would be the parody.
That's how they get you.
We would seem like amazing people with this fresh new kind of comedy and not parodying anything.
No, that's right.
So don't go in the future and find something to come back and parody. Wait until it's done.
Yeah, you have to wait till it actually is out there. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
For you little time travelers out there, little hint.
This is probably the number one source for time traveler tips.
It should be. We were going to write a whole book about it.
And we were,
had some good stuff in there.
Yeah. So, but anyway, like every minor element of our culture, someone in academia was like, hey, I can make this my niche.
Yeah.
And maybe I can get tenure out of this crap. So in 2001, Manchester University Press published Faking It, Mock Documentary and the Subversion of Factuality.
Wow. That's a whole book?
Yeah. By Craig Height and Jane Roscoe. And they came up with a nice little, which we all love heuristics on here, a little 3-part heuristic for kind of interpreting how you interpret a mockumentary. So level 1 is basically just a parody of documentary. And their example was All You Need Is Cash, which is the Ruggles film. Yeah. So it's a very, and they actually even kind of refer to it as like gentle. And it's like kind of a gentle parody of it. It's not really, doesn't really do anything.
Oh, you mean, well, stylistically.
Stylistically, yeah.
It's pretty savage content-wise about, the Beatles themselves. But yeah, I guess.
But it doesn't,
the form is standard, yeah.
But again, even if they're, but I think where their point is that then level 2 is a little more like involves like societal critique or kind of hoaxing and things like that. Okay. So an example of that, which a lot of times people will point to is Borat, and a lot of it is not so much he's being held up as to be mocked, but it's like the people who are, they're asking the viewer to laugh at the idiocy of the people that he's interviewing or he's, like the former mayors who were being made fun of by Sacha Baron Cohen. So, but level 3,
former America's mayors.
Yeah. America's mayors. Level 3 is when you deconstruct the genre of documentaries, and it's kind of like meta analysis and things like that. So the one that people point to is this mockumentary that I tried watching years ago, David Holtzman's Diary. And it's basically a mockumentary. It reminded me a little bit of Sherman's March. And actually, that's how I found about it. Because if you remember, Sherman's March was supposed to be a film about Sherman's March to the Sea. Right. And then it ends up, he gets broken up with, and he just does a documentary kind of about his life and the people he meets.
And every so often, he'll try to restart his Sherman's March, and then it goes back to his life again.
And so Holtzman was basically, this was like a character that was created as though basically it was a fake documentary, but he was documenting kind of his everyday life. And there's a lot of things about the making of documentaries. So it's very meta kind of stuff. So I don't know. It's not something I would run out and see, but it's interesting. Yeah. So one of the earliest films that was called a mockumentary, at least to its face. I mean, some people were talking behind their back, behind their hands. 1933's Les Erd Tierra Sin Pan, or The Land Without Bread, which was directed by Louis Buñuel, which was banned actually by the government because it was a documentary that he created with basically a friend of his, a sculptor, won a lot of money in the lottery and said, "Hey, you should make a film." And so he went out and made this. So
we need friends like that.
Yes. So you probably know Buñuel best from his 1989 collaboration with the Pixies.
That's where I've heard of him.
Oh yeah.
I'm getting reports now that Buñuel actually died in 1983 at the age of 83.
So that wasn't him.
No. Maybe you know him from the actual film he did with Salvador Dali, Un Chien Andalou, which if you took any film studies class ever, you probably watched it. It's
I did not see it.
It's amazing.
Getting caught by a razor.
It's amazing.
I've heard of that part.
It's actually amazing that a film that old could sit there and make you squirm harder than like a modern horror.
Oh yeah, it's very, and part of the worst of it is if you know it's coming, and it's just like, you watch the whole thing. I was like, okay, when is the razor happening? So yeah.
Oh.
So he had a long career during which he made but one of his early films was this film that he made about this incredibly impoverished area of Los Herdes, which is like a real place. It's on between Spain and Portugal up in the mountains, and it's incredibly backwards and impoverished. And his take on it was that they were so backwards they didn't know what bread was.
Hence the land without bread. Okay.
Yeah. So the reality is that while the people were poor and isolated and riddled with goiters, rickets, pellagra, and worms, they did actually have some civilization. But he thought the best way of publicizing the issue of their poverty and this kind of insane situation was this fictionalized version of what was happening there. And it was presented essentially as a very dry travelogue that were really popular at the time. So you'd have those like travel movies, and it was the narrator's incredibly deadpan while describing things. At one point, like an actual real donkey is like eaten alive by ants or bees or bugs or something like that. Yeah. And he's just like, are stung to death by bees. And the narrator's just totally deadpan reading this. So it's a very strange movie. So along with this film, other histories of mockumentaries center on Orson Welles' famous 1938 radio play, War of the Worlds.
You emphasize a bit in July.
Why? That doesn't make any sense. Sorry. There's no known way of saying an English sentence in which you begin a sentence with in and emphasize it. Get me a jury and show me how you can say in July, and I'll go down on you. That's just idiotic, if you'll forgive me by saying so. That's just stupid. In July. I'd love to know how you emphasize in and in July. Impossible. Meaningless.
Oh,
I don't remember that scene.
No, that's him recording a commercial for peas.
Oh, okay.
So here's what their War of the Worlds.
7,000 men armed with rifles and machine guns pitted against a single fighting machine of the invaders from Mars. 120 known survivors. The rest strewn over the battle area from Grover's Mill to Plainsboro, crushed and trampled to death under the metal feet of the monster, or burned to cinders by its heat ray.
The reason War of the Worlds worked is that it presented like real-sounding newscasters reacting like newscasters would. It's kind of similar to what Rob Reiner does in This Is Spinal Tap. Marty DeBurgi, like he has like the sit downs with the band,
right.
And he like shows them bits of their past. He has like the shaky cameras when they're when they're walking around, and it actually kind of moments when the band seems to be caught off guard by stuff, and so it presents it as though it's like a real people doing this. And so even though it's fictional, it has all the characteristics of a real documentary. And so this is kind of the same thing that happened with War of the Worlds. And then when TV started up, broadcasters had a whole bunch of B-roll footage and they could start playing with it. So a lot of their editors would kind of play with these things.
Yeah.
And probably one of the most famous ones is like the BBC loved doing this, and they would occasionally record fake news stories for April Fool's Day. And they're probably the most famous one is the 1957's spaghetti harvest story.
Spaghetti cultivation here in Switzerland is not, of course, carried out on anything like the tremendous scale of the Italian industry. Many of you, I'm sure, will have seen pictures of the vast spaghetti plantations in the Po Valley. For the Swiss, however, it tends to be more of a family affair. Another reason why this may be a bumper year lies in the virtual disappearance of the spaghetti weevil, the tiny creature whose depredations have caused much concern in the past.
Which
It's pretty good.
it's good. It's you can find it on YouTube, and it ran on Panorama, and which was a news show, and there was a funny mix of reactions. I read an essay about this several years ago, and it said that the reaction were more or less split between people who kind of appreciated the way the show was parodying its own style and kind of having a little fun.
Yeah.
And then people who were mad that the news was lying, and they were furious.
Well, there was also the group of people who were like, my spaghetti tree isn't growing.
Yes.
What am I doing wrong? I need some tips and tricks to get this plant. More sunlight, less sunlight. You know.
Wasn't there a YouTube video recently about somebody did something almost basically like that with like the marshmallow harvest?
Yeah.
Where they would go out and pick all the marshmallows and such.
And I showed this film one time in class, and I remember a student kind of like they were laughing, and one student goes like, "Okay, for real, where does spaghetti come from?" Like,
See, there's a sucker born every minute, man.
He didn't believe it, but he doesn't know where it actually came from. So I always thought that was great.
It's not a tree; it's a shrub.
No, yes, exactly, yeah. Woody Allen actually did several mockumentaries, and both in his like silly fun era, like Take the Money and Run for 1969, Men of Crisis, the Harvey Wallinger story from 1971, and Zelig from 1983.
I always liked that movie.
And then later on in his, I don't know what's happening with you. I'm gonna walk away slowly.
Yeah.
Homer into the bushes kind of moment with Sweet and Low Down, which was 1999, and I thought Peter Jackson, who directed the Lord of the Rings movie, he did a mockumentary in 1995 that I was trying to track down. I couldn't find it. It's called Forgotten Silver, and it's about
I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, it's a long forgotten New Zealand filmmaker named Colin Mackenzie. And what's kind of neat is apparently he shows bits of Mackenzie's work, like his kind of silent movies and early talkies comedy movies and films in that he'd shot as in current day, but he shot in that style. So kind of the same
pieces,
way. Yeah. So kind of the same way they have like Listen to the Flower People and this of it.
Give me some money.
The funny thing that I was really amused by the fact that Mackenzie's played by the same actor who played Deagle, who was
in Lord of the Rings. Wow.
Yeah, he was the guy who gets strangled and get the ring taken. It was like it was actually his birthday present. So.
Wow.
But it's also aligned with the Spinal Tap in that you make a friend at one point, you keep working with them.
You keep those friends with you forever.
Yeah. What I did want to also, like, of course, Christopher Guest we've talked about. He's like really the king of mockumentaries, the name, and Sacha Baron Cohen, of course, with Borat and Bruno, and then Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clements. What We Do in the Shadows is kind of fun because
that was a great movie, and the TV show is hilarious too. They work so well together.
It gets this feel of like it actually works almost like it feels like a real documentary, And one of the weirdest things I saw was that in 2007, I don't remember this movie at all, but Ash Brannon and Chris Buck made a animated mockumentary called Surf's Up. It was about a surfing penguin. And it apparently did really well. I have no memory of this at all.
Never heard that one either.
Maybe the theme song was Pretty Ballerina. And we just decided to block it all out.
Yeah.
But yeah, on TV started one of the earliest ones, and I know that Charles, you watched Trailer Park Boys.
I did. I saw some episodes of that. Yeah.
1999. There was mockumentaries before. Monty Python, of course, did several little sketch that were mockumentaries.
That was a pretty common sketch comedy trope, is to do a little fake documentary.
Like a news story, yeah. And like French and Saunders did some things on their show. Trailer Park Boys was like a full on like mockumentary show, and of course there's The Office 2 years later. And
would Modern Family count like that? Because they do have those.
Yeah, Modern Family's usually cuz in there too. Parks and Rec. Yeah. Even the Parks and Rec kind of moved away from it later on, but they still had to look at the camera and that kind of move. Yeah. And then of course we can't leave out fake band Hall of Fame GOAT of all time, greatest of all time, Fred Armisen, and work at that on Documentary Now, which is really fun.
Those are fantastic. Yeah. All of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they're parodies of other documentaries.
Not even just fake bands. Yeah. Different kinds of documentaries, they would parody just different styles, all of them. There was a great one that was it was a parody of the Muhammad Ali one, where I think it was Scottish guys who throw rocks at each other.
Oh, the caber tossing. Yes.
That was so
Those
great.
Are logs, not rocks.
No, this was rocks. This was rock.
Oh, rock. Okay.
These guys would go around, and part of the thing was they were supposed to be collecting rocks. And one of like the old guy, this is what Muhammad Ali had, a rope-a-dope kind of thing where he had George Foreman fight and get tired and everything. The young guy picked up so many rocks that there wasn't a lot of rocks for the old guy because he was at the pub and everything. So he just like basically turned around and let the guy throw rocks at his back for like hours until he all of a sudden had all the rocks and he could start throwing back.
That's really funny.
It's a really good. It's hilarious. You should see that. I wish I could remember the title right off it, but yeah. But Documentary Now, they do.
Yeah, they're really funny.
And the fake bands they did are really good too. The Blue Jean Committee episode and the Test Pattern episode.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's also the work of Diane Morgan, whose deadpan not mockumentaries about nature and culture become nearly successful as unrelated Belgian techno anthem Pump Up the Jam.
The jam, pump it up while your feet are stumping, and the jam is pumping. Look ahead, the crowd is jumping. Pump it up a little more, get the party going on the dance floor. See, cause that's where the party's at, and you find out if you do that.
Oh, that's hilarious. I love that part.
Philomena Kunk is so great. I was really tempted to make that incredibly long.
Almost the full you can't. The first time you listen, it's got to be short and everything, because every time she did it, it kept growing and growing and growing.
So I should note, though, if you want to sound really fancy and intelligent, you should refer to TV mockumentaries as comedy verite, which was a term coined by Brett Mills in a 2004 essay in Screen. And I read the whole thing, and I'm like, I don't know. I guess.
So he's saying don't use mockumentary.
Well, he's saying that they're somehow different because it's kind of because it's prolonged and it's over a series, and it's kind of like it's a little different than a typical documentary, which has a beginning, middle, and end, and it engages with the whole idea of like story arcs, whereas each episode in a comedy verite has its own story.
Okay. So for the TV versions, it's comedy verite,
open ended.
So what about rockumentaries?
Yeah, man.
So while Spinal Tap is definitely the most famous rockumentary, there are a few that I don't know if they
mockumentaries or rock. Is it mockumentary or mock rockumentary?
It's a rockumentary.
Miraculous.
Yes.
All right. That's from Morocco.
A documentary about Morocco.
Yes.
Yeah. Probably the most famous or prestigious, I guess, is Shirley Clark's The Connection from 1961, which is like a found footage documentary about jazz musicians waiting for their heroin dealer, and there's a jazz ensemble they're playing, and they have all the characters are musicians, and so very much a fake band thing, but it's jazz, and it's kind of depressing too. But it's a fascinating movie. I think Criterion has. I think they re-released it a few years ago, and then of course 3 years later, the Beatles put out Hard Day's Night, which is a fictionalized presentation of Beatlemania. And T-Mike, I don't think that you don't think it counts as a rockumentary.
Well, obviously it's heavily fictionalized, but I don't even think it's really done in a not even really done in a documentary style. I mean, there's parts of it where they're like, it seems kind of documentarian-ish, but I think it's mostly just like a fictional depiction of their early part of their career.
But if you think about it, like it's kind of like an Errol Morris style documentary where there's no narrator necessarily, and a lot of times it's just kind of it's weird. Like I saw people included in there, and I was like, I don't know.
I'd have to go back and rewatch it. But you give it kind of be an edge case.
Yeah.
They kind of be using a lot of documentary techniques, but still be a fictional film.
Yeah. And there's another one. Also, it's like a fictional film, but it has more of the documentary elements is Privilege from 1967, we talked about it.
I think
briefly.
we talked about it, a little bit for the election episode, right?
Yeah, because
we're talking about Bob Roberts.
It's a very political film.
It has Paul Jones, who was the lead singer, original lead singer of Manfred Mann, and so he was like the doo-wah diddy era.
Yeah, he plays
Manfred Mann.
Quinn Eskimo. Did they do a version of that?
That might have been Manfred Mann's Earth Band, I think. I'm not sure. Yeah,
he played a pop star named Stephen Shorter, who's like even more popular than the Beatles because the whole teen culture singer popularity was like making adults question, like, well, what if this popularity translated into political popularity,
right?
Which is like the whole Lonesome Road story from 1957 film, The Face in the Crowd,
right? Yeah,
but it's a very interesting film that I felt fortunate to see back in LA because there's a place they rented everything there. I don't know where you find it now, but I'll have to look and see.
I think it's on like the Roku channel or something.
Oh, really?
Or,
okay.
Yeah, or Tubi. Yeah, there's.
Great. Okay.
It's streaming in some places. I think some of these 60s British movies are fairly cheap to get licenses
Probably
for.
not, yeah.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to devote more time to that in a future episode.
But if you keep looking, there's dozens and dozens of music mockumentaries out there. Some of the big ones are the Never Stopping, the pop star one that the Lonely Island guys did.
I enjoyed that one.
There's one that I've been meaning to see as the heavy trip and the heavier trip. Which
we talked about that.
Yeah.
We probably will do an episode of it at some point when we want to come back to metal.
I think we're gonna be
metaled out after the whole Spinal Tap stuff for a while.
And we've actually talked about. Didn't we talk about the Sons of Provo? At some point,
that was in one of the boy bands. The boy band A to Z.
Right.
We mentioned that.
And maybe it was in our fake band for every state. Did we do Utah? Was one of those?
That could have been that.
Everclean was the band. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, and there's a British show, People Just Do Nothing, that several people have suggested that I see. It's about British like jungle in drum and bass DJs or whatever on a radio station, and I just haven't really got around to it. So
I thought it was interesting that there was a country one called Dill Scallion.
Oh,
and then that was also the name of the singer. And the funny thing about that is he actually it was a little bit of a Borat style thing too, where he would go to like country music shows where he managed to get himself booked into and talk to like real other country music stars in the in the show in character and not let on that he was a fictional.
That's kind of more like Borat, kind of like So.
There's more of that angle.
Well, that was a real deep dive into the history of the mockumentary. Professor Benson is back.
Right.
Okay, so when we return, we will discuss in greater detail some of our favorite mockumentaries. This is the Rockumentaries Fake Bandicoot. Okay, we're back, and let's start with a mockumentary that is contemporary to Spinal Tap, and that's The Last Polka from 1985. The Last Polka came out in 1985, 1 year after Spinal Tap. I have to bring this up again, 1985, because it just seemed so much older than Spinal Tap, didn't it?
The documentary itself?
Yeah. Well, last week when we were talking about it, I was like, oh, the movies that came before it, like, The Last Polka. But no, it came out afterwards.
Well, the characters came out earlier, though, because the two main characters are Josh and Stan Schmengi. And they were characters from the TV show SCTV.
Right. And
they first appeared in 1982 episode. So
the characters came out early, but the Spinal Tap characters were also earlier as well.
Yeah,
but it's just, I guess they had SCTV production money. They didn't have movie production money.
That's true. It looks a little more primitive.
Right.
It feels like a sketch, really. Yeah, and a lot of times it's like
kind of has like the production value. I think we could probably put that movie together if we needed to.
Yeah, if we borrowed a lot from our parents.
I mean, there was some stuff just. Well, we'll get to this a little bit, but there was okay. So, The Last Polka was an HBO special, which was a very broad parody of The Last Waltz by the stars of SCTV. It focused on the final concert and retirement of the Schmengi brothers, Yosh and Stan. The late, great John Candy plays Yosh, and Eugene Levy plays Stan, two Lutonian brothers that reach the heights of the polka world.
And
do you remember where the Lutonia is?
It's on the dark side of the Balkans.
The dark side of the Balkans.
Reminding me that Eugene Levy is in this band made me go back and check, and I think he needs to be shortlisted for the Hall of Fame because he did a bunch of fake bands in STV as well.
Yeah, he did.
As, we can probably.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about doing an SCTV show at some point where we'll probably talk about the Schmengi brothers again, and probably at that point.
Which may entail buying DVDs because it's not streaming anywhere, as far as I can tell. Yeah,
that sucks.
It's more or less gone. It's really weird. Yeah,
that sucks.
Yeah.
It's a good show. Like I said, when the band first appeared, and of course, SCTV was all shows within a show.
Right.
It was like the output of a fictional TV network. And these guys had their own show, The Happy Wanderers Polka Hour, which is a parody of the Lawrence Welk Show, which, God help us, believe it or not, the Lawrence Welk Show ran from 1951 to 1982. 31 years it ran.
Honestly, I thought it ran later to the 80s, but I think PBS just reran it over and over again. Yeah.
But I mean, and this is just a kind of a gentle parody of that whole beautiful music genre show thing. The characters appeared multiple times on the show. They're pretty funny. They actually were in character on Late Night with David Letterman to promote the Last Polka. And I know I saw John Candy on Sesame Street as Yosh Schmengi teaching, I think, Oscar the Grouch how to play clarinet.
Oh, nice. This would have been pre-Elmo days.
Yes.
Probably, yeah.
The good days, the happier days.
Before the rock.
Oh, before that oatmeal raisin cookie episode.
Rocco.
Okay, let's get our polka on.
I'm Yosh Schmengi.
And I'm Stan Schmengi.
And we're the Happy
The film gives us the full story and history of the Schmengi brothers, interspersed with wonderfully authentic polka performances. Yosh and Stan front their band, the Happy Wanderers, with performances from Linsk Minnik?
You haven't studied Lutonian like I have.
I have not. And the Lemon Twins, we'll get to all of them later. When I watch it, the one thing, if you watch this video, you have to pay attention to the background when people are talking. Did you see like all the wonderful gags in the background?
I think I missed a few, but yeah, it's this nice stuff going on in the background.
Like at some point they're talking to the Schmengi brothers and they were having a cookout and the fire gets more and more out of control in the background as they're talking. And there's one point they're talking to somebody in a record store.
Oh, yeah.
And there's just a kid who's just opening records and letting the records fall and smash on the floor. These little like nice touches that are just, they don't even acknowledge it happens.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
All right. So let's talk about Linsk Minuk, right?
Minuk.
Played by Rick Moranis.
Moranis. I thought I was the guy who couldn't pronounce things.
Rick Moranis.
Actually, it's just English I have trouble with. Plutonian, I'm perfect.
He's an Eastern European crooner. I don't know if he's necessarily from
he's Lutonian.
Yeah, he is Lutonian as well? Mm-hmm. But the Schmengi brothers are his agents because they only take the usual 50% agent cut, not the 75 that the original Colonel Tom Collins would take. And here's the sound of what Linsk sounds like.
Thank you. I just got back from the road again. I just got back from the road again. I'd love to stay and sing all night long. I can't. I'm gonna get back on the road again. Sing along with me this time, won't you? On the road again. Forget it. I just got back from the road again. It's good to see you all right here tonight. I gotta get back on the road again. Where should I go?
Okay, then you have the Lemon Twins, which is a singing group made up of three sisters. The twins are played by Catherine O'Hara, her sister Mary Margaret O'Hara, and Robin Duke.
Oh, that's her actual sister.
That's her actual sister.
I did not realize that. Wow.
There were rumors that the Schminke brothers were having an affair with the twins.
You know, and the Lemon Twins are a parody of the Lennon Sisters, which was a real singing act that Lawrence Welk had on the show all the time.
Right.
For slightly more modern viewers, that was the Lawrence Welk parody. That was the, and I'm Denise. Like, that was where that came from, was that little singing thing that when Armisen would pretend to be Lawrence Welk, and then he had like the singing sisters. Yeah, that's like this generation's, or possibly the last generation's, parody of Lawrence Welk stuff.
So the question throughout the film is, why are the brothers retiring?
Yes, why?
We hear about the early days in Lutonia, where we learn of another fake musician, the amazing Rollo.
Why did they retire?
We'll get to that. Okay. Because this was back in the day when the kids played Gelkies in the vaudeville, which were the jars. But then Lutonia.
Tune jars with water in them.
And then Lutonia got called into World War II, so they had to take all the jars for the soldiers.
For the war effort, yeah.
And so they no longer had that. And so that's what that brought them into the accordion and eventually the clarinet. We hear about their move to the U.S. and their debut on Foreigners on Parade, the radio program.
Right.
We learn about their 88 albums in 30 years.
Woo!
Their 5 hit songs, including 1961's million seller, Who Stole the Cabbage Roll?
All these years, we never know.
We also see their desperate claw to get youth interested with their questionable Michael Jackson homage in the concert known in polka circles simply as the Plattsburgh Incident.
So beat it, just beat it. No one wants to beat it. Showing how funky and strong you don't fight. It doesn't matter, wrong or right.
Yeah,
That's such a good.
It's so good.
Their tribute to John Williams on the back on SCTV was much more successful.
Well, so why are they retiring?
Yeah, why?
Only Yashinstead knows. They never say why, but I guess it just ran its course, right?
It was really weird how they kept teasing that and never answered.
Sometimes that happens in these mockumentaries. They keep teasing something, and then it's like, oh, you're just not going to.
And then they kept the teasing going through the credits. If you keep watching through the credits, you're like, hey, wait a minute.
We might be retiring. We might not be retiring.
Probably retire.
They are fantastic. The way the whole movie is filled with little nuggets that you just like. The whole part is about their wives, and then they bring out the Lemon Twins, and because there's a rumor there was an affair with them and everything, and you just see the wives just sitting there, their arms crossed, just like glaring during the whole concert for a while.
Yeah,
and they have the kind of the Schmenke brothers have that same kind of sort of amiable stupidity that Spinal Tap kind of has to me, like that. Just their personalities, that kind of like easygoing manner, but just like not the brightest tools.
Right.
Shed,
Yeah.
You know?
And this was one of 2 polka performers, because wasn't John Candy also a polka performer in
Plain Straits and Automobiles.
Or no, Home
Alone.
Home Alone. Oh, okay.
That's right. Yeah. So he was a twofer in
the Polka King of the Midwest.
That's
wasn't
right.
he?
Yeah, I believe he was.
No, you write what you know, I guess. But yeah, I think it's fun. It's not long. It's less than an hour. It does though. It just looks like it's so much older than Spinal Tap, because when I watched Spinal Tap, like we did to prepare for all this, and then watch this, I was just like, this came out a year afterwards. Yeah. Like I said, SCTV money, not movie money.
Not movie money. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So John Candy, He was the shuttle chief of the Kenosha Kickers in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. He wasn't a musician himself, but he worked for a polka band.
Oh, okay.
Got to get the details straight here.
Yeah, I did.
The polka people will eat us alive. One misstep.
How are we doing on our numbers in Poland? I don't know.
Zero this month.
So we don't have to worry about that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So what's the next one we have?
Next one we want to talk about, this is actually the first one that comes up a lot of times when people talk about Spinal Tap, the spawn of Spinal Tap, or Spawnals, what are we calling?
Spawnal Tap.
Spawnal Tap, man. It's Fear of a Black Hat from 1993.
Yeah. I remember that. I had the soundtrack for that, and I probably bugged everybody by overplaying it.
Well, I just rewatched it, and it's actually pretty good. It holds up really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched it too for the show. It really does.
This was Rusty Cundiff's first film, and just like This is Spinal Tap was Rob Reiner's directorial debut also, so it's kind of neat. It premiered at the 1993 Sundance Festival, and it got huge reviews. It was very, very popular. They could only book it in at midnight, and then it actually got rebooked for several nights to play at midnight because it was so popular. People wanted to see it. Unfortunately, CB4
with Chris Rock,
also kind of a quasi mockumentary style, came out just a couple months later, and so in March. So Sundance was in, I think, January, and then this came out, and then so the studio then sat on Fear of a Black Hat for like more than a year, and then they
already had the black mockumentary movie with the rappers, and they thought, And
then they just basically shoveled it out and did no promotion, and so it bombed. Kind of not.
Surprisingly, that's a shame though.
A lot of critics referred to it as spinal rap, and that
it's a bit dismissive, but it's not inaccurate, but
it hits a lot of the same beats.
It's more of the rap ruddles to me, is what I think.
The rapples, raptles.
But I think critics mostly liked it. I mean, they got fairly good reviews. Janet Maslin said, quote, "If Mr. Cundiff doesn't match the satirical genius of Mr. Reiner's film, he does understand the rules of the game." And so that's kind of what I was saying earlier about he gets how to do a good parody.
Right.
And and it's since gotten a pretty big cult following, and you'll see it mentioned online, and people say this is the funniest movie that no one I know has ever seen. And
I think we all recommend it heartily.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We were down on the ground floor for this.
Oh yeah, this is when we came out. So
yeah, you should have been listening to us in '93, people.
So the story is presented. It's a year in the life of the group NWH, and I'll let T-Mike say what that stands for.
In words with hats.
Okay,
I can't believe you said it.
Oh my god! And so NWH are basically parodies of pretty much every rap movement and subgenre in the early '90s. So there's a 3-member group.
I think that's a part of a lot of the fun of the movie.
Yeah, it is. It's fun to kind of catch the references and look at where these are coming from.
Right.
3-member group, MC Ice Cold, who was played by Rusty Cundiff, who's at different points a parody kind of Ice-T, Ice Cube, and also Chuck D.
Well, and I guess he gets later is Ice Froggy Frog.
Ice Froggy Frog, yes. MC Tasty Taste, which is Larry B. Scott, who is mostly a parody of Eazy-E, but he also does an LL Cool J parody. He's when Ice Cold is Chuck D, he's kind of playing the Flava Flav role. He plays the hype man kind of role. And then DJ Tone Deaf, who's played by Mark Christopher Lawrence, and he's like the spiritual kind of hippie rapper, DJ. He's kind of Daisy Age guys.
And a sound, y'all.
PM Dawn kind of.
Yeah. Later on, he gets a PM Dawn thing.
I also just want to say that these 3 guys are cast almost perfectly.
Oh yeah,
and Rusty Cundiff, I think, might even be doing the best job, one of the best jobs, even though he's doing all the other like directing and writing and stuff.
Writing, yeah,
which is even more impressive to me.
Well, he's really, if you can find old TV Nations on YouTube, which was a show that is a satirical news magazine done by Michael Moore,
right.
And it was on Fox, and Janine Garofalo also was a host on it, but Rusty Cundiff did a great bit where I think it was Alabama or Mississippi had not ever enacted the amendment, or they never ratified the amendment that banned slavery, and so he went down and bought some white slaves.
Right.
Oh, right.
And then
he magnanimously released all of his slaves.
Yes. So it was really fascinating. But the Marty DeBurgi analog in this is Nina Blackburn. She's a grad student who's doing a documentary on the group for her master's thesis.
Yeah, she's really one of the most annoying characters in the film because she has like this pretentious, overeducated character. And I remembered that on Ice-T's 1991 album OG Original Gangster, there's a little spoken word bit in interstitial, it's not like a full-on skit, called First Impressions. It kind of feels like they just cribbed like her whole character from this perspective of like, you know, like this pretentious perspective.
Well, it kind of goes for the parody of the hyper intellectual talking about like the seriousness of this when it's just rap. You know, it's like they're just kind of like
street
pop culture, music.
Street culture.
But there's of course a lot of, he's mentioned, there's a lot of analogs of Spinal Tap elements. So instead of their drummers dying, their managers keep getting shot.
They have a controversial album cover that gets censored.
Yeah. There's another rival band there that they have like the huge tennis
shoe collection instead of like Nigel's guitar collection.
Yeah.
And there's the Yoko Ono trope about breaking up the band with the girl, but that's kind of predates.
That's like an element.
That's just like
Beatles,
a trope.
Yeah.
You know, musical fictional trope that I'm sure we could find, in written fiction and earlier examples.
And kind of one of the things they do that is, and I think this is why people include Hard Day's Night in there. There's the kind of documentary news bits that are fit in there, and kind of the same way they do it here with a very young Kurt Loder from MTV News. Yeah.
Right. The actual guy.
And there is like a great thing where it's just like, I in my notes, I wrote like young Kurt Loder and then old phones, because everyone has people who do have cell phones are these massive analog cell phones are great.
It's 1993.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it is done documentary style. They do a good job, I think, mostly. But my one beef is they really start, the further the film goes on, the more they slip from the true documentary style. And they start doing like, very movie things like, like close-ups and getting all these different angles that you couldn't possibly get with a documentary. And I get why they do it for some scenes, because it makes the scene work better, but it's like it jettisons the whole, documentary look and feel in favor of these gags, which again, I get it, but it makes me appreciate Spinal Tap all the more for fully committing to, full on documentary and not, doing something that couldn't be done in a real documentary.
That said, I think also this is another case of operating with, I believe, SCTV money. So I believe their budget was $1 million, but if I remember correctly.
Wow.
Yeah. Rusty kind of said in an interview that I think it was actually officially $999,999 because the studio would not give them $1 million. they're like that line. So I guess he jokingly said, well, how about like, cut $1 off? And they're like, all right, I guess.
That's pretty
there's
good.
One of the weird things. There's a very prescient thing where he gets pulled over and with his many beepers that he has, and there's this scene where all the bystanders start recording him, and they're using the on the shoulder handy cams and like old fashioned recording.
They use like 8mm video film cameras.
Yeah, and he gets pulled over by a security guard, which leads to this little bit.
But he still wanna act hard. Paw Patrol at a goddamn convenience store. Getting chicken is a junk middle way home. Just a smile and an ill-fitting suit. Got a little bit of power, so you wanna act a fool. Let some shit break out. And what you gonna do? Can't get back up, cause you don't got a crew.
Which is great. It's actually a fun song, and
that's actually to me that sounds like a total lift of "Jump Around" by House of Pain from '92.
It uses some of the same samples, and I think that was like it was very much that was like for a hot minute that was like the felt like every other song had that kind of bounce in it, So, yeah.
Although, I mean, the security guards is really the police, right?
Yeah,
it's like F the Police.
Yeah.
Song.
So
that was Ice-T, I think.
No, that
NWA.
Was NWA.
Oh, you're right. All right, I'm thinking of some of the other songs.
That was Ice Cube. You're thinking of Ice Cube was in NWA. So,
yes, you're right. I'm thinking of an Ice-T song, "Cop Killer."
Yes, that was controversy.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Never mind.
I'm thinking of an Ice-T. Charles, can you give me an Ice-T?
Sure.
All right. So we mentioned that Rusty kind of wrote the movie, but I think the big star in this is Scott Mayo, who did the music, because the songs are great. Actually, they totally hold together, and they actually listen to them now, not having heard them in like 20 years.
Yeah.
It was like, these are really good.
They are a fantastic parody of the songs of the day.
Yeah.
Really did a really great job.
Kind of is actually a pretty good rapper. He's got a pretty good flow.
Rusty Goodeve could pull it off.
One of the things is, what I like also about it is just like in This Is Spinal Tap, you get more than one style. So you have them kind of move through different styles. And the sad thing, actually, I will say, couldn't find it on Spotify or Apple Music. I don't think that it's streaming anywhere at the moment.
I noticed that like Spotify seems to be terrible for soundtracks.
Huh. Interesting.
You can't find this on Spotify?
I didn't see it on there. No, yeah.
I might have it in a box around here somewhere if you guys need it.
I've got the CD, but
I've got a rip of it. Probably from that CD. Yeah, so it might be in glorious 128-bit.
Yes.
Some of the standouts of the soundtrack is the first song you actually hear in the movie, the Public Enemy-esque "Wear Yo Hat Buried and Bald."
Yeah, that's a great one.
That destroys a black. Oh, they take you out one by one, son. Baked and done, a nigga dead from exposure to the sun. Victims of hostile elements, not so elements designed to keep the black irrelevant.
I love that song. I also like their take on the Two Live Crew style sex party raps, "Grab Yo Stuff."
When they see me grip with both hands, it's a black thing they don't understand. It's true they want to take it all. So before they rip your ball for ball, cup your hands, cover up. NWA say grab your stuff. You gotta grab. You gotta grab.
They had to change, or they were going to get arrested by the cops if they performed it live.
It was really "Grab Yo," another S word, and and they were not allowed to use any profanity, which was a parody of actually a real thing that happened with Two Live Crew. They were told that if they performed this, they were going to be arrested, and they went ahead and performed it.
When they were banned in the USA.
Oh yeah. I like that they did a kind of a riff on DeLynch Mob's Gorillas in the Mist, which is titled "Gorillas in the Midst" with a D.
That's War Gorillas, not Monkey Gorillas.
War Gorillas. Yeah. But honestly, Gorillas in the Midst is a better title.
Yes.
Like, the joke was right there, Lynch Mob.
Yeah, come on,
the joke is, why?
They should have been listening to us back then.
Yeah, exactly. Our podcast back in the early 90s. Anyway, here's what it sounds like.
When a black man gets no justice, cause a kangaroo court don't trust us. Wasn't the first, it won't be the last. Brothers gotta move to get that ass. Plead the case to the C-O-U-R-T, but they never see Y-O-U and me. Verdict by punk ass George. Open up a black man's fury. Now see me. Jack you in the valley. Now see me. Ice you in the alley. Now see me. Pull you out the truck. Now see me. I don't give a.
And that was their big hit in the world of the movie, and that made them the headliners.
Stars, yeah.
Just like in This Is Spinal Tap, the main two characters clash, but this time the band actually breaks up. And so each member goes solo, and they do a solo song that's a parody of early 90s songs. And so we'll hear.
I think these are some of my favorites.
They're really funny.
Yeah.
So
from the film,
we're going to hear in order Ice Colds, and then Tasty Tastes, and then finally Tone Deafs.
Political unrest, stabilized society, yes, and I must confess, when you step to it hard, it'll open up. So don't bogart the speed, use the S in another S-Y, hit it, and you will decide the fate of this entire nation. When it comes, you get totally elation. So step to the L-I-P-S, then pucker up and press. Your lips to the lips of the funk between the hips. Nah, this ain't no diss. Time to stand erect and get entry to the richness that waits within. See, gotta work hard if we want to prove it. I'm in it to win it, so let's do it. Yeah, suckers, it's me. The serving up dynamite. It's like a cobra at the foot of your bed. It's over when I leave you for dead. Ice melts when the tea gets hot. Ice cracks when the tea does rock. Gonna hit you so hard you scream. How could a little nigga be so mean?
You are just like me.
I'm just a human.
I'm just like you.
I'm just a human.
We all stand the same peak.
I'm just a human. Just a human being. When I do, it's my shit not brown. It's a universal thing, we all flush it down. When you wipe, do you look at the tissue? Most folks do, it ain't even an issue.
Now technically, that first one is the Ice Plant.
Yes,
is the name of the band.
Right, yes.
Ice Cold is now, his new group is the Ice Plant.
I'm Just a Human song, you know.
Yeah.
I remember when my boys were little, they were probably like, you know, preschool, kindergarten age, and I was driving them, and they had two friends in the car. So it was like four guys, 5 or 6, 7, somewhere in that range, and they were just, for some reason, they were just quiet, not really talking, everything.
Yeah.
And so I put that song on.
Oh no!
And the song's all it's just about body.
Yeah,
it's just snot and poop and peeing and all that stuff. And acted like it was just a song I didn't know. And the kids, all of a sudden, you see them like turning and giggling and laughing, and they'd all start going. And then they were just like, "Could you play that again?" And I just acted like I did. Oh, what? Oh, sure. You guys like that song? But act like I didn't know what was going on. Those kids, oh my God, they couldn't stop talking.
That's
at that
hilarious.
point.
And that's technically the new human formatics.
Yes.
So we gotta make sure we get the proper names. Tasty Taste was just Tasty Taste.
Yes,
so.
it was. That was his diss track, which and again, this is mirroring the breakup of NWA and the diss tracks that came out after that. But
yeah, and that's Tasty Taste is an LL Cool J parody. And Human Being is pretty PM Dawn.
PM Dawn, yeah.
So these songs are just so well done.
Oh, yeah, they really are.
Yeah.
Before we go, there's two little snippets that are actually also worth hearing. The first is A Gangsta's Life Ain't Fun, which is a parody of Ice-T's New Jack Hustler, Nino's theme from the
same album.
Same album, OG Original Gangsta.
N-G-S-T-E-R, like Scarface, bitch, I'm a superstar. Revered for although I am the villain. Ain't no more juice by the others I'm killing. Profiling and styling, try to fly ride and the hoes just piling. I make gangsta money cause I'm gangsta bold. Fuck gangsta bitches wearing gangsta gold. And I kill by will with skillful thrills. Another way to pay the bills. I'm the boy wonder, god of thunder. Make a move and I'll put you under.
Oh yeah.
That song is not actually on the official soundtrack because it was added in for the home video release.
Oh,
yeah,
so it's not in the.
It's not. It wasn't in the studio. I mean the theater version, and then they added it. They added that little snippet in to the home video release, and then the second snippet is on the soundtrack, but it's not in the movie. So it's White Cops on Dope, which has NWH paired up with. Well, let me see if you can guess.
Treat me like a king. Beat me with a nightstick, then they tase me with some string. What's up with that fool? White cops on dope. Sing it, white boy. Jacking the boys in the neighborhood.
Ooh, I know. But I read the script already. So
I don't know.
You don't recognize that voice?
I kind of do, but I can't.
It's Rick Ocasek from the Cars.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
It's the weirdest thing. So it's this tweaked version of the 1973 song White Punks on Dope by the Tubes.
That's a deep dive, man.
Which is not a Rick Ocasek band.
No, not at all.
So it's a pretty good riff on the collaboration with Aerosmith that Run DMC did with the Walk This Way. And so they're kind of parodying that. And they did a whole video for the song, but it only appears on the DVD as bonus material, which I thought is weird. But it's on the soundtrack, so it's so strange. Like, I don't know. They felt like they had different committees working on that.
Yeah, didn't spend a lot of time getting everything together right.
Not to keep harping on this, but SCTV money.
Yeah, well, I mean, if they had more money,
synergy.
Yeah,
if Rusty Cundiff had a little more money, this would like a truly great film. I think.
Yeah.
I think it is a truly great film for what it is. I don't know.
Agreed. I think just he'd be even.
You
more
could give him 10 times the money. I don't think it could have been that much better.
I think it could have been.
How?
Give him 10 million. It's called production value.
It's still pretty good.
Quiet. Anyway.
Quiet?
I
cut his mic. We'll show him who's quiet.
Fine, you're right. All right. I just want to point out that one of my favorite bits isn't even musical. And it's this parody of Spike Lee
and John Singleton.
And John Singleton called it's a movie director called Jike Spingleton.
And that's like one of the things I think is funny because there's also just weird, silly, like almost Mad Magazine or just like silly stuff in here that's like very fun to watch. It kind of cuts some of the more satirical elements that are really kind of fun.
But and then the other thing to me is that there's like two bits that just totally jumped out at me on the rewatch that did not age well at all.
Well, this is a 32-year-old movie, right?
But like the Fuck the Security Guard song uses a slur for male homosexuals in the lyrics. Did you play that bit in the lyrics? I can. Anyway.
No.
And then the other bigger
one. He actually
one
dropped the F-bomb though this time.
I know, yeah.
It's not even that. It's not the F-bomb.
He's getting wild now.
Yeah, well, you did.
Well, the other one is, so there's a there's a scene where their rival band, the Jam Boys, are in a classroom because it's like, this rap for unity, anti-violence thing they want to do.
Yeah.
And the Jam Boys are there to talk to the kids.
This is when the Gangster's Life Ain't Fun video
they
is
show
like,
the video because like the gangsters' lives aren't fun, children.
Yeah.
And the NWH is there, Jam Boys are there, they hate each other, and so they start beefing, and then they start fighting, and then you see all the school kids and the school teacher running crazy hard as they can out the door while gunshots are sounding in the school. And I get the gag, but now school shootings don't hit a little differently now.
Yeah.
There were some school shootings back then. It doesn't seem as many, but I think it's just now you're old and have kids and you worry about it.
That's true.
No, anyway, but that's just like a few wrong notes in what otherwise is a really solid
And before
piece.
we leave, we should mention that there's a ton of other parody people in here.
Yeah.
There's like
there's Vanilla Sherbert. Who's
Vanilla Sherbert.
There's MC Slammer.
Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme, who are better than salt and pepper because those are common spices.
Yes.
Common spices.
There's Yo Highness, who I don't think has any lines, but that's pretty clearly supposed to be Queen Latifah, I believe.
Yeah, there's Touch and Groove, which I didn't understand who that was a reference to.
No, I don't think they ever show them. So the Jam Boys are kind of a parody of the Fat Boys, basically. I mean, they seem kind of like that, element of.
I'm a big fan of the Fat Boys.
And then there's also the scene where there's like ice tray, ice box, ice coffee, iceberg, ice cup. It's all the other people who have ice in their name.
All biting ice cold style, man.
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
It is a really fun movie.
It's another one you should check out.
Yeah. And you can see it for free. It's on a lot of the different streaming places right now. So
I'll give you another one that you can see for free because it's on YouTube.
Nice.
It's The Life and Hard Times of Guy Terrifico from 2005. So this is Spinal Tap is what you get when comedians make a fake documentary about a band on tour.
Mm-hmm.
The Life and Hard Times of Guy Terrifico is what you get when musicians try to make their own This is Spinal Tap.
Oh, no.
No, it's not bad.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not bad. It's just...
That sounded like a recipe for disaster.
It's not all jokes. And like the music is not funny. It's really good.
Oh, okay.
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
Okay, so the movie is a rockumentary about the hard-living country singer Guy Terrifico.
The name alone is...
With a lot of music legends adding to the narrative like Chris Christopherson,
Really?
Levon Helm, Ronnie Hawkins, and Merle Haggard.
Oh.
It's such a fun movie. It's just a little more ragged than Spinal Tap, which honestly works for this movie and its protagonist. The movie starts off with Chris Christopherson on stage talking about Guy and how great he is and how he still owes Chris $50. We hear from other legends about the mystery of Guy and the notes that they just got mailed out saying, bring it back home. So there's some mystery like, there's going to be a new album coming out. Maybe because there's a mystery because no one's seen him for a while. We'll get to that. But, Guy Terrifico is an interesting guy. As Merle Haggard says,
great music and just a turd of a person.
Oh, wow.
and he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
Baby.
So the other musicians talk of the rumors that they've heard about Mr. Terrifico. He told his backup singer that he was born in the back of a pickup truck in Canton, Ohio, on the same stretch of road where Hank Williams died. And then his description of his life slowly turns into a boy named Sue, which he catches on to.
Right.
Jim Cuddy and Greg Keelor, who are two members of Canadian supergroup Blue Rodeo.
Yeah.
They debate whether he's from Nashville or Austin, but they both agree he killed a man in a bar fight just to watch him die.
No, that was from a Time Life series of books on the Old West.
I left the Blue Rodeos in there.
Yeah.
When I was in college, they would play in Boston fairly frequently, and I had a friend who was from Canada, and he was always saying, like, you don't understand how big this is. Like,
you don't.
They're huge. They are huge in Canada, and they've never made any inroads to the U.S.
You look it up, and you're like, wow, they are one of the biggest bands in Canada.
Yeah. Maybe their fame doesn't have a passport because it doesn't.
I don't know.
It's never made it down here. So.
I do have it to. I do plan on listening to it on Spotify though, to check them out though. But yeah, because you look at what they've done, and it's like, wow.
Oh, yeah, huge.
Okay, so at this point, we get to the real story about Guy Terrifico, who's played by Matt Murphy, who's a Canadian rocker from the bands The Super Friends with a Z and the Flashing Lights. And he plays the title character and is Terrifico in his own regard. He brings kind of an emotional depth and just rock star chaos to it with a splash of Timothy Chalamet looks in the mix.
Cool.
So who is Guy Terrifico? Well, he is Jim Jablowski.
What?
Jim Jablowski was born to Ukrainian immigrants who lived above a junk shop in Alberta. He was a good boy until the devil put that guitar in his hands. Actually, it was a gift from his dad, but, the devil probably was behind it, probably gave him a deal on it. I don't know, somehow. So Jim ran away at 15 to soak up American music. He traveled all over the U.S. before heading to New York City and modeling himself after Bob Dylan. Eventually, he went back to Canada, settling in Vancouver and starting a band, Jim Jablowski and the Cabbage Roll Boys.
Hey, that's like the Schmengies. Wow. They have one of their polkas we didn't mention is the Cabbage Roll.
The Cabbage Roll is a theme. We have the whole polka. Beat It stuff. There's lots of themes going through this episode. Mm-hmm. So, Jim Jablowski and the Cabbage Roll Boys. Here's a little sound of them.
This Alberta sun should go down in a blaze of glory. No down deep inside your heart, my darling, I will rise again. If this Alberta sun should go down in a blaze of glory, no down deep inside your heart, my darling, I will rise again.
So the music is kind of reminiscent of the Flying Burrito Brothers, that new country kind of sounds, country natural, like Chris Christopherson, who's a big part of this movie, actually. The band sees a little success and starts to record the first album, and then tragedy struck. Jim Jablowski won $8 million in the lottery.
Wait a minute.
So now Jim and his friends get to party like rock stars without having an album out yet. They spend a wild week where they rent out a floor of the hotel and they bring in all these people and well-wishers and horses and things. And then tragedy struck. Jim Jablowski was kicked in the head by one of the horses he rented and had in the hotel rooms.
Oh.
But when he came to, he announced that he was Guy Terrifico. And that's how he became Guy Terrifico. He was from now on. He was no longer Jim Jablowski. He thought his name was Guy Terrifico. And it only took one kick in the head from a horse. So he buys a bar and he turns into a
Flintstones logic.
Okay. Pretty much.
So he buys a bar and turns into a honky-tonk and attracts so many big stars. Supposedly the Rolling Stones have their little country phase because of Guy Terrifico.
Yeah, okay.
Merle Haggard did come there. He said that after the show, he was in the green room and they said that the drinks were bought by Guy Terrifico and they pointed at some squirrely guy all passed out in the corner and they were like, that guy is Guy Terrifico? But so anyway, they make their album, start getting some success to start touring.
Well, every night's another Saturday night. I get it rolling with Canadian ride. And then I'm following that little white line just to make it to the show on time. I'm seeing double, so I drink myself blind. Oh, Sunday morning's getting harder to find. But how am I ever gonna see the light when every night's another Saturday night?
They have their wild natural adventure where Merle Haggard beats Guy up and then he becomes fast friends with Chris Christopherson. Both Christopherson and Terrifico were scheduled to appear at the famous 1970 concert on the Isle of Wight.
Right.
Had like 500,000 people at this concert and everything. But hours before the band was set to fly to the island, Guy steps out to find a decent cup of coffee and disappears for the next 2 years.
Well, it was a lot harder to find good coffee back in 1970.
Well, he returns to Vancouver, sober and full of new songs. The band sets up a reunion song in Vancouver to prepare for a new tour.
The moment that you saw him, you just looked the other way. The blood within his eye was like a curse. He had 2 heavy pistols, which were greased up and ready, and a face like Bobby Dylan's, only worse. He ordered him a whiskey, which he drank like he was thirsty, and he ordered him another of the same. Suddenly the silence of the frozen room was shattered by a kid who shot before he called his name.
And then shots ring out, confusion sets in, and the conspiracy starts. Is Guy Terrifico alive or dead?
Or did he win the lottery again?
Because there were 2 shots, and he was whisked away and taken off to the hospital. but they never found him at the hospital.
Ooh.
Meanwhile, the drummer got shot and he's lying behind the drum kit. That part didn't come up. They didn't try to whisk him away to the hospital.
Come on, man.
But you're talking about well, he just was either bleeding and they were just left him there. Okay, whatever.
So the sad life of the drummer.
There's lots of really funny bits. I didn't even, give you half because you need to go see this movie. But it really seems like it was made by musicians instead of comedians. It's, still very funny, very enjoyable. There's some holes in it, like all of a sudden, he's got a new album coming out. But does he? We don't know if he's alive or dead.
Right.
So maybe there's not an album coming out. So a lot of things seem to kind of get dropped. Mm-hmm. The music's not played for laughs at all. It's really great songs. They're not jokey. If you like that alt country sound even a little bit, you're going to love this soundtrack. It's really good.
Cool.
So yeah, you should watch this movie.
Very cool.
All right. Well, I have the next movie. I have Electric Apricot: Quest for Festeroo.
Ooh, I love the title.
Oh.
This came out in 2007, and once again, and like many of our episodes where we all watch different films, I have the crappiest one. Okay, it's not that it's so bad; it's just that it's not good. So it's a documentary about a jam band called Electric Apricot, in the vein of like Fish or
like Leftover Salmon, or
I don't know any other jam bands.
Grateful Dead.
Well, actually,
Allman Brothers.
Yeah. All right. So
Band of Gypsies. Bella Fleck and the Flecktones.
Man,
Big Head Todd the Monsters.
Those are not
Black Crows.
I don't know what you're
Blues
looking
Traveler,
at. Those are not
Bottle
jam
Rocket
bands.
Hurricane.
Stop.
Colonel Les Claypool's.
All right. Let me read all
Frog Brigade.
Okay. So
Country Joe and the Fish.
Maybe that one.
Dave Matthews Band. Real fans call him Dave.
All right, Dave. Anyway, so Adam Gates.
Should I stop here?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so we have Adam Gates plays the bass vocalist, the bass, and the main singer, Steve Trousdale, who goes by the nickname Iwas. Brian Kehoe is Stephen Gordon, a.k.a. Gordo, the lead guitar. Jonathan Cordy plays Herschel Brillstein, the keyboard player. And Primus frontman Les Claypool plays Lapland Miklovich, a.k.a. Lapdog. And this film is Les Claypool's baby. He wrote it, he directed it, he edited it. He's one of the main characters.
And he has to play bass in it.
And he does not play bass. He plays drums.
That's weird.
Not really playing to your strengths, but okay.
He plays drums. Anyway, so his character has like the stupid wig on. His character's a pretentious twit. He's a percussion prima donna. He's an annoying chatterbox who won't shut up. And he's the best thing in the whole movie. If you love Claypool, watch the movie. If you just like Claypool, get stoned and watch the movie. If you hate Claypool or you don't care about him, get stoned.
And watch the movie.
I never said that. Like you said, Grateful Dead, there are some fun cameos. Bob Weir of the Grateful Dead has a cameo as himself. Warren Haynes of the Allman Brothers is himself. There's Seth Green and Matt Stone play some minor characters, tapers who tape the shows. Famous 1960s weirdo Wavy Gravy is in it.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
And actually, Fish bassist...
Barry's the lead again. Wavy Gravy's in this.
I believe, wasn't there a Ben and Jerry's flavor of Wavy Gravy?
Yeah, I think so. It was delicious beef flavored gravy in there. And Fish bassist Mike Gordon is actually in the film for about 30 seconds. And it's pretty much one of the funniest parts of the film. Yeah. So the plot is that they're a struggling band. They record their first album and then they go on to play the Festeroo, which is like this huge jam band festival just north of Portland.
Okay.
And so one of the gags during while they're recording is they get the recording studio, they get the recording session. Lapdog takes the entire day to set up his drums. He's just that nitpicky. He's got a level, he's got a tuning fork. And so the recording session just drags on and on. They can't get even one song done after a whole week. And you know the best way to show something that's long and boring in a film?
Shoot all of it.
Make it long and boring.
What? No.
Do not do that. No.
Montage. Montage, people.
They did not montage like they should have. Anyway, so they bring in a band therapist. That makes everything all better. Now finally they can get the album done and go to Festeroo. And they actually have a very successful show at Festeroo. There's no disaster or anything. Almost, but no. And then, so here's their song, Hey, Are You Going to Burning Man?
Hey, are you going to Burning Man? Bury your toes in the desert sand. Ain't no man for to tell you how to be. Come on down with me to Burning Man. I got a recipe for cosmic flan. Strip off your clothes and set your aura free.
No, it's not bad. It's a, fun little jam band song. But the worst thing about the movie to me is the ending, because the ending takes all this like more plot than the movie actually had, and potentially good cinema. It's wasted on not even a voiceover, but like a 30-second block of text that shows up on the film. This is what happened at the end of the movie. And basically,
wait, what? They didn't film the end of the movie?
No, they just put it in text. It's like it was terrible. They get pulled over by cops. They show that part. They get pulled over by cops on the way back from Festeroo. And then the text informed us, it turns out there was 20 pounds of weed stashed in the band's equipment because their manager was secretly drug muling it back from the festival back to the head of the recording studio. And the assistant of the recording studio, who got fired because of the band, tipped off the cops. And all that is off camera, not even a voiceover. They just, like, this could have been like the final third of the movie, and they just blow it all on text. And I was just like, what are you doing?
So they didn't even have SCTV money.
No, they didn't have SCTV. That's the other thing. It does look really cheaply shot, absolutely cheap. I mean, and they played some occasional real live shows to get footage for the film, and they played some live shows in 2004, 2005. They actually appeared on the South by Southwest Music Festival in Austin, Texas in 2007.
So they even like a real band now?
So they did like some real band stuff, which is nice. But seriously, this whole experience of this episode and watching these things makes me understand like what an enormous crutch voiceovers are in a documentary.
Yeah.
Like it's just like this horrible, huge crutch for you're not a good documentarian. And the other thing is the voiceovers always get like lost halfway through the film. It's like, okay, we needed it for the beginning, but now we don't need it anymore, and we're never going to use it again, and forget that guy. And you're just like, hey, what happened to the voiceover guy? Just show, don't tell. That's if you learn anything from this episode, people, any future documentarians listening, please, for the love of God, show, don't tell.
And
First rule of movie making.
And any of our podcasts from 30 years ago, which is full of knowledge.
That's true, yeah. It's weird. This reminds me of that the movie you watched for Val Kilmer, where again they had they did like a live show to record it, and it was nuts. So.
And he was the best 5 minutes of that whole movie.
All right, so we got some good ones to watch, right? I would say watch Guy Terrifico. That's fun.
Yeah.
Last Polka is great.
That's fun, yeah.
Fear of a Black Hat. Love that movie.
Definitely.
But maybe not
West Festeroo.
No Festeroo.
Again, unless you're like a Les Claypool fan,
Okay, well, so watch those, and now we finally get to enjoy the latest mockumentary, Spinal Tap II: The End Continues, coming out at theaters near you this Friday, or maybe
Thursday.
even earlier. I assume near you. I honestly don't know how big the distribution of this film is going to be.
I don't know.
I don't know if it's going international. Yeah. I honestly don't know.
We apologize to non-US listeners.
If you're not in the Raleigh-Durham, Chapel Hill area, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah,
right? It might only be in this area because we do this podcast. They might have been so hyper focused, but I know I have the tickets for us. We get to watch on the 10th.
We're gonna leave your house, and there's gonna be like a guy standing outside. Hey, you want tickets? You got tickets, man.
All right, so let's celebrate this weekend by making it Fake Band Weekend. Okay, go see Spinal Tap II. Watch K-pop drama, Demon Hunters.
Drama Hunters.
Why did it change it to Drama Hunters? K-pop Demon Hunters. Cosplay is your favorite fake band. Celebrate it however you want. Then write us at fakebands@vgg.com and tell us how you celebrate this weekend. The ones that truly understand the spirit of Fake Band Weekend will get a fun prize package courtesy of the Rockumentaries Fake Bandica.
Woo! Fakebands@vgg.com, people.
Next week, we discuss this new movie and put Spinal Tap to bed for a long
for a while.
time.
Yeah.
But until then, I'm Charles. There's Alan.
See you next week.
There's T-Mike.
Farewell.
And this has been the Rockumentaries Fake Bandica. Thanks for listening. You've been listening to the Rockumentaries Fake Bandica, a production of the Van Gogh Sketch Comedy Group. The hosts are Alan Benson, T. Mike Childs, and Charles Rempel. Our editors are Alan Benson and Charles Rempel. Please be sure to subscribe to the Rockopedia on your service of choice so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear from you, so leave a review or email us at fakebands@vgg.com. And don't forget to visit fakebands.com and the mothership, vgg.com. Thanks for listening.